Zoe, let's go ahead and jump into the oh, here we go. We have a picture actually.
Yep.
I forgot I had this. We have a picture of things from your Craftsy class. So you want to talk about your Craftsy class a little bit? It's elegant lace cakes, and you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so basically what the class is about, it's not one big project. It's basically lots of little different ways of looking at how to get lace onto your cakes. And I've done this through either doing appliques, so rolling out lots of thin cutouts from flour paste or gum paste, how you like to call it over the pond. And just rolling that out thinly, and then also another technique doing with piping, and then also combining applique and piping just to get more texture. And basically it's just looking at that, how to mark the flour paste with either pressing lace into it or lace molds. We also cover using lace molds in the class. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, that sounds really good. You know, I think that one of the best things you can do is teach techniques more than just an overall project, because then people are equipped to be able to go and do lots of different things instead of just, I know how to do this cake, so
yeah.
That's great.
I mean, we do in 2 of the lessons, we do in the middle, we do make the cake, and I show you how to make the cake that's on the postcard that's advertising the class. So that would be the brush embroidery design, which is just piping and then over piping. And then in the lesson following that one, I just show how to put it all together, inspired from the dress with the sash around the tier and the flower and then the buttons.
Awesome.
And then sort of either side of that you have just applique techniques and then some other techniques. And at the very end I just sort of talk about how to not just do it on your cake, but how you can match your other sort of bits of confectionery like cupcakes and cookies, and how to tie in as well as having just the cake on display.
Great. All right, and so this is one of the things that you have here. We have a cake that is so extremely gorgeous. Look at that. I think that lacy cakes are just, they're so beautiful. So you want to talk about this? We're gonna actually take you through some steps of how Zoe has accomplished this, and walk you through it a little bit. So you want to go ahead and I'll let you take over and talk about.
To start off with, to actually get this, the design with the pink, I just iced the top and bottom tier in ivory, then the middle tier was in pink, and then I just did a band around the bottom of the top tier and then iced over another very thin bit of icing to get the top part of the pink on the bottom tier. Oh,
okay. So if we go back a little bit and see that, so the pink part is icing, or is that fondant?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So that's fondant. That's the actual covering. So where you get at the bottom of the top tier and the top part of the bottom tier, that's almost 2 very thin layers of fondant.
Okay, great. I love that. I love that it's not just all one color, that it looks like you've just taken the lace and just kind of
and wrapped it around the middle.
Yeah. I love that. Okay.
So it's basically on that cake you've got the embroidery work that's done with piping. Then you've also got this applique work, which is basically done from lots of different cutouts using different blossom cutters. And then what you do is you roll the flour paste really thin, press it into a lace mold. Here I've got a butterfly lace mold. It's the CK molds, which I absolutely love. They're brilliant. They make great lace impressions. And I just press them together without worrying about matching the design up, because I just wanted to get kind of a lacy, textured impression into the paste. And then I cut out the flowers, and then I cut the centers out of the flowers. And when I've actually put them on the cake, I've kind of pulled them slightly to distort them to make them a bit more sort of lacy looking. And once you've cut out the flowers, you can actually press them back in the mold, so it makes the edges a bit kind of not so clean, but a bit sort of rough, so it looks again more realistic, a bit more like lace.
I love that. I love that you can get that texture from a butterfly mold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of my favorites. I've got another one that I use a lot for this kind of thing because the pattern's quite dense and certain areas of the actual mold are really, really pretty. So that one was a good one. But any lace mold, there's lots of different companies now that are bringing out molds. Yeah, it should work.
That's great. You know, it's good to know that you could take just, you know, something that has that lace texture, and it doesn't have to be exactly for that specific thing. And that can cut down, you know, immensely on the amount of tools
exactly. And they are expensive, so it's good to get a few key ones and then just keep with the ones that you've got, because you can even just, some of the big molds, you can even just use parts of it. And I do show that in the class, I think. How you can just maybe do couple of flowers from one end of the mold and cut them out and use it as a separate piece instead of having to use the whole piece. So.
Oh, cool. Very nice. All right, so you're using this same mold again.
So just pressing it, and that's where I've got, that's the band that goes around the top and the bottom to separate the pink from the ivory.
Okay, and do you have a special cutter that does that?
Yeah, that's just a normal scallop edge cutter. Okay. So you just roll out a long thin strip and then you cut the scallop edge out and then you come down a bit and then you cut it out again. But it's just a normal sort of, any scallop, either a long strip cutter or something like that.
Okay.
There's a few different brands out there on the market. FMM do one, and I think Orchard Products, of what I know over here in the UK. They use them quite a lot.
Okay, great. All right, and then here's our actual cake.
Here's the first step. So the cake needs to be iced 24 hours beforehand in order to kind of scribe your pattern onto the cake. If you just did this on a soft cake, it would make really big marks. So after 24 hours, you can trace around the main flower. That's what I did for the pipe flower, and then pin it onto the cake, and then you can just either prick through the design or scratch through so you can see where to do your piping.
Great.
And if you do dent the cake, when you do that, you can just smooth it out with a smoother, and if you do it right away, it should be okay.
Or if it's too deep of a dent, pipe over it, right?
Yeah, or stick a flower on. That's a good thing about these designs. It can be quite random, and you just put wherever the marks. It's just as it is. There's no sort of polka dot kind of design is quite difficult because you have to obviously put the polka dots where the polka dots need to go.
Yes.
But with this free design, you can just put it where there's something.
We love that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And then you're going to pipe over those lines?
Yeah, and some people always worry about piping, but the good thing about this kind of piping, instead of moving in a nice, smooth, nice and close to the cake to get a nice smooth line, basically, which is it's really difficult. If anyone's tried to pipe against gravity on the side of the cake to get a perfect line, I actually dot, I don't know if you can see, but you can kind of just dot, and it's like just dabbing and following the line, and it looks more like stitching or embroidery. And it's so easy to do. You literally just follow the line and just dot, 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 and there you have it, and it looks great.
Awesome. So you don't have to have the perfect,
no,
steady hand.
No, not for this you don't. I mean, of course you want to be comfortable and not lean against the side of the cake when you're doing it. As some people might do, and then they go, oh no, I have students here sometimes, and they're so concentrating, and then they realize they put a massive arm print in the tier below the class. It's quite funny because it's just a class, and I sort of laugh at them, and they've learned their lesson, which is fine.
Yeah, but at least it's done on a practice cake and not a real one.
So exactly.
I actually have a funny story for something like that. I was making a cake one time, and I had stayed up, a good 48 hours. You know how we do sometimes when we're in a rush and in a push to get it done on time. And I was falling asleep, and I was trying to get some piping done on this cake, and I ended up waking up and seeing my arm just laying on a layer, on a tier of cake. And I just, oh my goodness, what have I done?
And did you fix it okay?
Yeah, it actually smoothed out pretty well.
Oh, good, good.
And no one ever noticed, but
Oh, good.
it was one of those, okay, I need to be sure that I get enough sleep these days.
Yeah.
Not as young as I once was, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of hit a barrier after a few years of going crazy and working all hours, and then it's kind of, oh, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. All right, so you've got your little, some people call them snail trails or
teardrops or
teardrops.
Yeah, and so you can see that it's got the sort of dented kind of boarding, and then I just piped 2 teardrops to kind of look like beading, just coming into the center around, just extra detail. And then I actually brushed, when it was all done, I just brushed over with edible luster mixed with vodka or just a lemon extract, just to add it, give it a little bit of sparkle.